understood then how to protect users from users. And then by the 80s, when the PC security became an issue, again, I was involved in creating an access control for PC DOS and then later Windows. And again, the issues were similar, but they continued to evolve and become more complex. And by the mid-80s, I'd become involved in RSA, which I thought then and still believe that that technology is a big piece of computer security. And by 1995, we had created VeriSign, which I thought would be the vehicle by which all internet transactions would be protected. Because I, at that time, personally, did not want to do any commercial transaction if it wasn't encrypted and authenticated on both ends. And to do that, you had to have private keys, and I believe then, and I still believe, that one of the best ways to enforce security and to prevent loss of identity or credentials is to use a smart card with an embedded chip. Now, I've actually been out of the business for a few years, so I haven't been able to offer any products in this way for a long time. But right now, what I would like to have is everybody with a credit card, everybody's card, their credentials should be a smart card or a card with an embedded cryptography. And that way, if you would never have a credit card number that could be compromised. So if somebody's database on some website was compromised, they wouldn't compromise your credit or your credentials. So I like to think over the past 15 years, we've had a lot of opportunities to implement things and to do things. And in many cases, we've lost those opportunities now, and the infrastructure is more ingrained, it's deeper built, and more widespread. And what used to be an issue that was local has now become an issue of global security. Now, there are lots of ways to look, in my opinion, at cybersecurity issues. We've seen a number of different people approach it in different ways. The way I like to think of it right now is to look at it as 3 or 4 different categories. And the first category, the way I split it, is social. So social issues of cybersecurity to me would mean things like spam. How do you handle spam and create policies around spam and pornography and privacy and free speech? And that's a subject that will, I think, endure for a long time with a lot of controversy because there are a lot of opinions about it, and I'm not sure that in every case there's a right answer. The next piece I'd like to break off of this family of problems that we call cybersecurity is physical security. And sort of to me, I think one of the things that was addressed here with the Bergucci study with the undersea cables. And that's, protecting physical things is something that society knows how to do to one extent or the other. We bring it to attention, we create backups. So I'm not going to really talk about that, physical security. And then the last two, to me, are the more interesting and the more fruitful to think about, at least for me. And one is, and I'll focus on one, which is the technical issues. Because I believe fundamentally, you look at all the ways that cybersecurity is affecting the commerce and the botnets and all these different threats affecting the power infrastructure potentially and all these different things. These are all, in my opinion, due to problems with faulty systems and faulty operating systems. And it's difficult to correct, but what I would like to see personally, if I had the ability to wave a magic wand for myself, I would like to be able to do all my internet transactions with a secure smart card that has an embedded credential in it. So that way there's no way that my economic credential could be stolen or misused. And I would like to have a secure platform. I would like my computer to be secure, and I would pay a premium for that. And I don't know how many people would, but I think it's very important to have both of those. And if you had a secure platform, one where the operating system was was constructed in a very partitioned manner, according to principles that we've known for decades now. I mean, for example, in 1988, I think DEC had an A1 trusted system, which they were ready to launch, but they eventually dropped it because they understood that the government would not let them export it. And my own particular product with the PC security, I eventually had to abandon it because I could not export it, and so it was the market was dominated by other countries like Sweden, Israel, Switzerland, who had no export controls and could import in and satisfy a lot of. So I mean, export controls I think have hurt us in our path to where we are. So my wish list would be to have internet transactions done with like, as I say, with a secure smart card. And I would like to have a secure operating platform. And the secure operating platform is really two components. One is a secure operating system, and the other is applications which can be partitioned and put into a sandbox. So even if they misbehave, it doesn't affect the operating system or other applications. And the other thing that I want, of course, is secure applications that are not subject to being corrupted by data or bad input. And that, I think, is just a matter of being more careful and more diligent in programming and checking the data that comes in. Many of the attacks that we see now are really the same attack, the same type of attack done over and over again in different situations with different applications. I, for example, have no desire to have my browser be able to launch any window and execute a shell command that opens up my system. I would just like to have that function taken out of the browsers and out of document processors. It shouldn't be in there. It's in there because there's quirks of the system. So you can fix these. These are fixable, and I think it's a matter of time. As we evolve, we are getting better. We will continue to get better. And as this problem is mitigated through more diligent programming, I think some of the issues will fade away. That is my hope. So I was going to make a rather outrageous and perhaps entertaining statement, but I think Esther already anticipated me, because I think that people who manufacture software which is fundamentally faulty and doesn't do a good job of checking input and allows these kind of errors should be held accountable, perhaps even liable. And I realize that's a rather inflammatory statement in some quarters, but well, then I will make it. I mean, I think that if I'm delivered a piece of software that I use in good faith and I operate it properly and it enables my system to become infected, I lose data, I lose credentials, whether that's a piece of software on my system or whether that's a piece of software running at a server's site that I'm using, they need to be held accountable. And how you do this, I realize it's a very complicated issue. The whole issue is complicated. I don't want to underestimate it. There's a human factor which I'm ignoring, but I think that by properly designing software and operating systems and applications, you can mitigate most of the human factor and blunt it. So probably we'll never get rid of some of these things, but if we reduce it by a large fraction, 90%, 99% as time goes on, then we'll have solved a lot of the problem. So I could go on and on, Greg, but you want me to limit myself. I see my red light is on, so thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Well, thanks, Addison. Addison is a member of the Board of Directors of the EastWest Institute. It's sort of, in a sense, a coincidence that he joined us more or less at the time as we were starting off our cybersecurity initiative. It's not why he's a member of the Board of Directors, but it's a great privilege for us to have him, given his deep history in this field and rather unusual distinctions that you'll see from his biographical note. So thanks, Addison, and it's great to have you here. Thank you. Bruce, can we turn to you for the last bit of sparkle and fire?
So I can do sparkle, I don't mind. When I looked at this list of 7 sectors that we all broke out and broke through, I noticed one, I think, very serious omission. We talk about media, transportation, energy, national security. No one's talking about the individual. So I want to spend the next 5 or so minutes talking about the individual and their concerns and their problems and what we can do for them.